You're listening to another episode of Tap Outs and Touchdowns.
Bill, what's up, my friend?
What's going on?
We're doing something a little different tonight because for the first time ever, we are live on Instagram at Ryan W. Frick over on Instagram. It's the first time we've ever been live on Instagram. So if you decide to join us there, welcome. Leave a comment in the chat, and we will read your comments live on the air. It's your guy, Bully Rye, alongside Banker Bill, and we've got another football episode for you this week. Bill, there's a lot of stuff going on, man. I hope you're ready to talk some foosball, if you will.
Foosball. We might be breaking stuff as things happen too, because I think you and I are both sitting on a PC or computer, and we are going to be staring to see what this release of the NFL schedule as it comes. I think it's happening right now. So
yeah, some of it is exactly.
Maybe we'll get something as we go, but we have a little bit. They were leaking stuff. I wonder what guys do this. Like what guys are like, hey, guess what I found out, and then somebody puts it on X, and everybody talks about the games that they know about. But we're going to go over some of that stuff too. So lots of stuff going on.
Yeah, before we get started with some of the NFL scheduling talk, let's get into my favorite segment of the show every week called Homer's Corner. And I'm going to start us off this week. As you see, my Lions hat is on, and some big news out of Detroit Rock City. Everybody was concerned in the offseason about what's the future for Jared Goff. Will the Lions re-sign Jared Goff, or are they going to give him a show-me season in his final year of his contract with Hendon Hooker in the shadows? And they did not waste any time. The Lions and Jared Goff have agreed to a 4-year, $212 million contract extension with $170 million guaranteed, according to NFL Network insider Tom Pelissero. It puts him under contract through 2027 with an option for 2028. And at $53 million per year, Jared Goff's new contract vaults him up the salary charts into second place behind only Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals. This is a direct quote from an article from Nick Shook over on NFL.com. Bill, I want to ask you, man, I know it's a lot of money, but I showed you some stats about Jared Goff. He had more yards, more touchdowns, and the same, if not fewer, interceptions than a lot of the guys that were making big money as quarterbacks in the NFL last season. He led his team to the NFC Championship game. Was this contract deserved? It also makes him the highest paid Lion in team history. Is this contract worth it for Jared Goff?
I think so. I mean, you got a Pro Bowl level quarterback. You got to protect him. I want to say thank you, or maybe not thank you. I don't know. This kind of sets the market. You guys have been doing that a lot this season. I don't know why, but I think you have this really cool team mentality. That's the only way I can figure it. But when you got Penei Sewell, he's going to set the market for tackles. And then you've got Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's going to set the market for receivers. And then you got Jared Goff. He's like, I'm going to set the market for quarterbacks. I'm not going to wait to see what Tua is going to get paid. I'm going to just take what they give me. Okay, we're here. It's kind of a neat mentality. I kind of like it. But I think that sets the market for that Tua contract. I think that's going to happen here before the season starts. But is Jared Goff worth it? Absolutely. I mean, took the Rams to the Super Bowl, didn't play great in the Super Bowl, and then they just kind of ditched him and said, nope, we're going to go get Stafford. Stafford wins the Super Bowl, and Goff's been really good in Detroit. So, yeah, I think he's definitely deserving of that contract. He's Pro Bowler. I mean, you can't. It's so hard. I've said it before, and I've talked to you about it. There are like 15 dudes on the planet that can play football quarterback at a high level, right? And he's one of them. So you got to pay him.
I mean, the Lions this offseason have shored up contracts for Penei Sewell, Jared Goff, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think they've got the core players they want to keep on, and this Jared Goff contract did just that. Pedro Guillen in the chat. I'm glad Goff did better than Wentz, as am I. Quick reminder, whether you're watching the show on X, on Facebook, or on Instagram tonight, make sure you leave a comment and join the conversation. As you can see, we just read Pedro's comment on the air. We'll do so with the other platforms. Bill, we decided your Homer's Corner kind of right before we went on the air, and it has to do with streaming services and their exclusivity to some of the games in the NFL and potentially sports going forward. Bill, let's talk about your Homer's Corner, man.
Well, I kind of wanted to make it more of a discussion and not really just where I'm frustrated. I think that's kind of what's happening here. You told me earlier, it was like 2 days, yesterday, I think it's yesterday, that Netflix is now going to be broadcasting some NFL games. And I think it was the Christmas Day games. And that brought about, I don't even know what I said. I think I just said like, ooh, or you know what, and you said Netflix is trying to make a comeback. I think my frustration is this. One, I'm frustrated with the NFL putting games on Christmas Day. I don't feel like the NFL belongs on Christmas Day. That was always an NBA thing. The NBA was kind of like the Christmas Day sport. I don't care that much about the NBA. I'm not a big NBA. I'm a basketball fan. Don't like the NBA. It's kind of weird, but okay, fine. I did not like when the Dolphins played on Christmas Day. Hated it. They lost, which kind of ruined my Christmas. This past season, they played on Christmas Eve and beat the Cowboys. That was good. Pedro probably liked it. Probably not. But let's just say that I don't like that first off. Now we have Netflix is going to be broadcasting the games on Christmas Day. And they're going to join Amazon and Peacock as streaming services that you now have to pay for to watch NFL games. That is a level of frustration for me. I feel like I miss the old days, Ryan. And I don't know if you feel the same way. You probably do. You might not. Do you like the fact that you have to? Let me rephrase that. Would these games have been normally televised on, let's call it network television or say like cable television? Do you think they would have been televised on, say, ESPN or one of the, big broadcasting networks if they were not going to be on something like a streaming service? I would think yes. Personally, I would think yes, because all games are televised on those networks generally. So do you see this level of frustration? Two-part question. Would they have been televised on those? And then if they were, does that frustrate you that you now have to pay extra money to go see those games on streaming services?
I mean, yeah, I would have watched them. Let's say this. I think they would have been televised, right? Right? They televised some games on Christmas Day this past year. But the NFL, to be a nonprofit organization, the NFL is chasing the almighty dollar. First, real quick, shout out to Will Small over on Instagram watching with us. But it would have been televised. They're already televising them. So, and of course, I would have watched if they're regularly televised. Here's the thing about some of the streaming services. You've got, we had the playoff exclusive on Peacock. The Amazon Prime Thursday night games are what first. Let's even go back further. When they put the NFL on Thursday night games on NFL Network, ATT and Uverse did not carry the NFL Network for about 2 years. So I had to, spoiler alert, don't tell the authorities, illegally stream Thursday night football games when I wanted to watch them. Because otherwise I wasn't going to be able to get them, because it wasn't one of those things that you could go out and just subscribe to NFL, because that would have been NFL, like whatever season pass, whatever it's called, that's $250 a year. So I was already dealing with it. And then you go to Amazon Prime. Fortunately, I have an Amazon Prime account. And then you go to the other streaming services. Peacock, I already use Peacock, not just for the WWE Network, in which Monday Night Raw, you talk about Netflix taking NFL games, Monday Night Raw is going to Netflix next year. Exclusive rights to Netflix live on Monday nights. Okay. But I already had a Netflix account. I'm one of the morons that haven't been sharing a password with anybody. My Netflix account has been my Netflix account for the last 10 years. So I wasn't considering myself having to pay more for that. Peacock, again, I had Peacock for WWE Network, but I also use it for shows like The Office, Parks and Rec, Law and Order SVU, Superstore. You can name a bunch. People sleep on Peacock. Peacock is a phenomenal streaming service. Okay. And then Paramount Plus was the only other one, but now Paramount Plus is talking about doing partnerships with other companies. There was a rumor a few months ago that Paramount Plus was going to team up with Peacock. Soon, by the end of the year, you can go to Disney Plus and there will be a tab for ESPN, like they have one for Hulu and all the other things that Disney Plus houses. So, me personally, because I already paid for all these streaming services, and I'm still one of the dinosaurs that's still paying for basic cable. That's coming to an end very shortly after I got my cable bill this month, okay? But for someone who was already paying for all these streaming services, it didn't bother me as much, primarily because I already had them. If I had to turn around and pay for Peacock to watch Kansas City, Miami in the playoffs, if I all of a sudden had to go create an Amazon Prime account to watch Thursday night football games because I would have missed Detroit, Kansas City to start last season. If I would have had to go all of a sudden, maybe I decided to cancel Netflix because they didn't have any content. Now I have to go pick back up a Netflix account, bare minimum, whatever that plan is. Yeah, it probably would have been frustrating to me. And I can see why it would be frustrating to people who don't have some of these streaming services. Because, and again, we talked about it off the air, and I don't want to steal your punchline, despite the fact that I'm making my stand-up comedy debut tomorrow night. But like, the idea is that eventually you're going to be able to partner these streaming services like Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN. There's another one that's in talks to go in with Disney Plus as well. You're going to be able to pay like $20, $30 a month for all these streaming services together. And then you're gonna take, let's say Netflix teams up with Peacock, teams up with Paramount Plus, and now that's $30 a month. So guess what? Now you get to pay $30 a month for 3 streaming services, $30 a month for another 3 streaming services, $60 a month. You've got basic cable, my friend. That's exactly what they're going towards. They are eliminating the Comcast, the Xfinity, the AT&T Uverse, DirecTV. They're eliminating all of that through streaming services where you can actually pay, instead of letting the cable companies negotiate what you pay for these networks, you can go and pay for these networks yourself.
Yeah,
I don't really know how else to put it, man. Like, well, it's unfortunate because of the question.
And we got a few people in here, and I see Shannon Smith saying it's not personal, Bill, it's just business. And I get it. At what point? Now, I used to be a huge NBA fan, and huge when I was in high school. It's my favorite sport. I liked it more than football. And I don't watch the NBA anymore. I don't like how they play basketball anymore. I can tell you when it happened, but it doesn't matter. It's a different conversation. Point is, I swore off that sport, and I don't watch the NBA anymore. I've turned on the playoffs maybe once, I think, because I want to see how the Knicks are doing.
Shout out to Will Smith. Will Smith's a fan of the show, and he's probably the biggest Knicks fan I have, so he'll love the fact.
I want to see how the Knicks are doing. My dad's a Knicks fan, so I'm checking out the Knicks and seeing what the Knicks are doing. But I don't watch the NBA anymore. So at what point do people just get frustrated with the? And we've talked about this on the show about how I felt like the UFL needed to be consistent with their start times, consistent where the games were being broadcasted, things like that. At what point people were already mad about the Peacock situation and that game not being on national television, being on Peacock. People were really frustrated by that. People will start to turn away. They will. I've turned away from the NBA. And at what point does the NFL start to feel that where Shannon knows it's a business? I think everybody else knows it's a business. But there's always that push that at one point people just get frustrated by the constant money grabs. And that's what this is. You know, Netflix is going to push this. I mean, I don't know. You're saying $30, Ryan, for these streaming services. Netflix by itself right now is $27.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's not going to go down because they signed the NFL. That's going to go up. They're going to say, hey, we got the NFL now, and that costs us this amount of money. Here now it's 33. So at what point do people just get frustrated? Where are we going with this? Like what? They're just going to keep raising prices. And at what point do people just go, you know what, this is awful. And I just don't care anymore. I'm not even going to bother with purchasing Netflix or purchasing Peacock or purchasing Amazon or whatever it is the next thing that they're going to sign with because they want more money and making billions on top of billions already. When do people just get frustrated? When they just say, you know what, rich guys don't need more money. I'm done with this. And will that happen? I mean, the NFL seems like the juggernaut that can do no wrong, no matter what they do. Between having terrible officials, non-professional officials, games that people are saying are fixed, scripted, everything, they seem like they're bulletproof. At what point do they become where they take a bullet?
Anybody that's watching on X or Facebook or Instagram tonight, join this conversation because we want you to join in. And on command, Sean McElveen's already saying, "I'm already there, Banker Bill." Hashtag fed up.
Exactly. When does it start? When does it start to turn the other direction? Because their ratings never cease to go up. They're always. I think we talked about it last season, Ryan. Last season was like the number 2 rated season in the history of the NFL. It was one of the most popular seasons ever. So they continue to go up. And at what point do people just go, you know what, I'm done with this?
Pedro Guillen says streaming apps are going to kill cable, and it's happening now. Yeah,
I've been done with cable for a while. So I cut the cord 5 years ago when I lost my Spectrum promotional rate. I went to Fubo TV, and I've said it on here. Like I watch a lot of hockey. Half the hockey games are on TNT, and streaming illegally is very simple. Say that. I'm not saying that's what I do, and I don't condone you do that. Don't do that.
We're not promoting.
Don't do that. But
We're
I'll
not
tell you
promoting
what.
illegal streams. We're not
Exactly.
promoting illegal streams.
The people
No.
that do it, it's very easy to do. Very easy to do. But yeah.
I mean, you got to think about it too. You got to think about it this way. Bally Sports could not come to an agreement with Xfinity, which is one of the biggest
and
cable
drop them
providers.
at the stadium where the game's being played. They couldn't show the live feed of the game. Yeah.
Yeah. So Xfinity is one of the biggest cable providers of the Southeast, and where the Atlanta Braves fans live and reside is the Southeast. And you can go and sit in a box in the stadium, and you can no longer watch a Braves game because Bally Sports is not being carried by Xfinity. On top of the fact that, because I think you get MLB, whatever the MLB network plan is, with T-Mobile, I guess. But because it's your local team, it's also blacked out. So now it's almost like, will streaming services save something like this? That's let's say, because Bally Sports, I believe, is in the process of bankruptcy right now. Let's hypothetically say that Netflix comes and picks up Bally Sports. And so now the exclusive home for all of Major League Baseball presented by Bally Sports is Netflix. So now Netflix has a hold on the NFL and has a hold on WWE for Monday Night Raw. It has a hold on Major League Baseball. You never know. You don't know what's going to happen. And so listen, again, streaming services are the future. Streaming services are killing cable television. And in all fairness, they should be killing cable television, because cable television has been price gouging customers for decades. When $100 was too much for cable, they were charging people $100. Now, and I probably shouldn't say this, on here. My cable bill is over $200. That's cable and internet. And when I make a phone call to AT&T this week, they're going to get it under $200, or they're going to cut cable out of my bill, because I'm not doing it anymore. I
will say this, Ryan. While we're giving out financials, I actually had the conversation. I told you this before the show when I said, hey, this could be my Homer's Corner. This could be kind of fun, right? My wife this week said, what streaming services are we getting rid of? And I said, what? She's like, we're paying $197 right now for streaming services in between our cable, which is Fubo TV, which is way cheaper than Spectrum, by the way. And then all the rest of the streaming services, I'm up to $197, and I ain't gonna stay there. Cable. So it's time to it's cable. So it's time to start deciding what I don't want to watch. I'll tell you the first one I go. Want to know the first one?
Yeah,
Hulu's gone. That's the first one I said nope.
I get Hulu bundled with Disney and ESPN. So
yeah.
Sean McElveen in the chat, and the Xfinity offices are in Truist Park.
It's true. You showed me the picture. I think they circled the Bally's thing, and in the background there was an Xfinity. There's an Xfinity sign. It's like, this is ridiculous. It's
crazy. Yeah.
Anyway, the debate will rage on.
Yeah, I don't know what the future holds for streaming services and live sports, but it's going to happen. I mean, there's a bidding war for all those sports, and that was it was never more evident than when the SEC was finally pulled from CBS going into this season. And speaking of which, ESPN announced the SEC games to be aired on ABC for the first time this season. They've got 4 weeks of SEC games now. The first SEC on ABC game, Bill, if you can believe it, is South Carolina at Kentucky, Saturday, September 7th. I believe it's our second week of this. It's our week 2 matchup. You can see it scrolling across the screen wherever it is that you're watching. Bill, do you think it's a good look for the ESPN and ABC to go ahead and launch their first 4 to 5 weeks of programming? I mean, they've got game times already for a game in November. Maybe the game time's not there for November, but the game is announced Georgia, Florida, November 2nd on ABC. What are your thoughts about them going ahead and releasing this so early, especially right around the time the NFL schedule is releasing?
I don't think it's bad. I mean, what's people excited about the games? They get to see, what times they're going to be on. They get to plan their Saturdays, I guess. I don't plan Saturdays over. I hate to admit this. I don't plan my Saturdays over the Florida Gators anymore. I don't think I ever did.
Married guys, am I right?
Yeah. It's oh, we're going to have to go do that. We're going to Home Depot. It's going to be a really busy Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah.
We might even
maybe Bed Bath & Beyond. I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be enough time.
Exactly. So, I'm not planning that stuff. I don't plan. Now, the Dolphins, that gets planned. Sundays are for the boys. I'm watching those games on Sundays, but I mean, I will pay attention if I can, right? I don't think it's a bad thing for them to release it now. I mean, whatever. It's maybe the NFL is going to steal their thunder a little bit, but yeah, to be able to say, hey, this is going to be on this day, people might mark that on their calendar to make sure that they're sitting in front of the TV watching ABC on those days.
Bill, anything you're looking forward to watch again as an SEC fan? Is there anything you're looking forward to watching the SEC on ABC?
No, I'm not looking forward to this season at all. The tradition's gone. It's gone. I'm a traditionalist, and it's gone. They've ruined it. And yeah, I'm not looking forward to it very much. Honestly, obviously I will pay attention, right? I'm excited for football, but as far as conferences and all that stuff, they're destroying all of college football. So we'll see where it lands.
Real quick, your sister's in the chat. What's up, Tara? I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to more than anything else. And that's getting to watch SEC games and not having to hear Gary Danielson's voice anymore.
Jeez.
That dude, it was bad enough. Listen, I love Vern Lundquist, but the two of them in the booth together, and then when give me Vernquist back, give me Lundquist back. I'm combining his name now. I'm so excited.
He retired though. Yeah,
retired completely. I'd rather have him by himself. Calling games like old Joey Styles used to do it for ECW, than Gary Danielson with literally anybody. You could give me Gary Danielson with Pat McAfee, and I still wouldn't want to watch it.
I don't know
how much I hate Gary Danielson.
Who are the ESPN announcers? Like, I don't know if I get excited. There's only one announcer. I can't even think of his name right now, but the guy that Boom Goes to Dynamite, that guy. What was it? He's still, know who I'm talking about. No, he's so good. He gets me you get excited watching the games. And I can't remember his name. That's terrible. But there's like one announcer in college football that I liked, other than like Keith Jackson back in the day, right?
He's on Fox now, right?
I'm not even sure I don't know who I'm talking about. I mean, I know who I'm talking about, but you'd have to say his name, and I go, that's the guy. But it's not going to happen. Man. Like, what are you going to look up? The best college football announcers?
No, Fox College. I'm trying to do it live. This is quality podcasting right here.
It's perfect. You can do it live.
Yeah, we'll do it live. F it. F it. Yeah, this is.
Well, I'm going to look it up. I'm going to look up best college football announcer.
Yeah, well, I'm doing it for Fox. I think it's Johnson.
Gus Johnson.
Gus Johnson. I didn't even look it up. I got it.
That worked. No, so Gus Johnson is and I don't know who he works for. Whoever he works for,
he does Big Ten games.
So that does nothing for me for the SEC. Like, I'm an SEC guy. I don't care. Gus Johnson's not going to call him. But yeah, whatever. I don't know. I'm excited they're going to be playing. That's all I care about. And I want to see what happens with the QB situation.
Sean McElveen agrees with me. Anybody but Gary Danielson. That's enough college football talk because we still got a little while.
Wait, can I get one more? Can I get one more? All right, I sent it to you.
Oh,
Florida landed one of the best transfers in the transfer portal today. Cormani McClain, the 5-star cornerback that was the number one quarterback in the 2023 cycle, transferred to Florida today from Colorado. He went to play for Dion. Florida was going to get him, and they thought when he originally came out, he ended up signing with Miami, but never actually fully committed to Miami. He ended up going to Colorado. He played in 9 games, started 4 this year, was pretty decent, and now he's transferring to Florida.
I mean, it's big news because there's been a lot of volatility coming out of Colorado. A lot of people transferring out.
Ooh.
A lot of criticism against Deion Sanders.
Mr. I don't visit anybody at home, Deion Sanders.
Yeah. And on top of it, like, there's rumors that Deion said that he would only let his kids get drafted by certain teams. He came out and disputed that because he knew it was because he wanted to get ahead of it, even though he's staying behind. He's going at it with his former players on social media when his son Deion Jr. or whoever it is that's the defensive back that played at South Carolina for a year or two. He's calling out guys that are leaving the program, and then just fans are going after him. Like, are you the guy that had like 4 pass breakups and 2 tackles last year? Like, who are you talking to? Like, so I'm curious to see how bad Colorado is going to be this year. Because it was all flash when he was in an HBCU, and now that he's playing in a big-time conference, and he's out of the Pac-12 now, he's got to play in a much tougher conference this year. And imagine if he wins 4 games again this year with his star quarterback son, who is projected to be the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 draft. I'm I'm really curious to see what happens with Colorado next year. I love it.
Oh,
Bill, let's move on because we're about halfway through the show. We still got to get to some
I
UFL
know.
Week 7 talk.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the NFL schedule being released. And again, if you're watching on Instagram, X, or Facebook, join the conversation, leave a comment, and we'll read them live on the show. But as I said a second ago, the NFL schedule released today, May 15th, 2024. Yesterday, they actually released some of the games to open the season, including your Thursday night opener with the Ravens at Chiefs. You get a game the next night in Brazil, a Packers at Eagles. There's a fun little rumor about that game that the Eagles green was the color of the stadium's rival, and so they were talking about banning the color scheme for the Eagles for that game. And seeing as there's the home team, I wonder if they're going to have to wear like black jerseys with no. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go. We can look into that. And
Good job, NFL. This is it's already a dumpster fire.
Yeah. The next game they announced yesterday was the 4:25 Sunday kickoff between the Cowboys and the Browns, primarily because this is the first game that Tom Brady will be calling as an analyst. And then fast forward to your Thursday night football. I believe I don't think I have it on the screen, but I think the first Monday night game is San Francisco hosting the New York Jets. I think I didn't put it on there because I didn't want to talk Aaron Rodgers into the show, right. But he's, he could make history and rupture his other Achilles in back-to-back Monday Night Football games, and he could be a Jeopardy question in 20 years. But no, the first Thursday night game we just talked all about the streaming services. Your first Thursday night on Amazon game features your Miami Dolphins playing host to the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
Bill, I didn't post a lot of the other schedules. Schedules are getting released as we're having the show. They were being released all day. What are your thoughts on what we've heard so far and what we've seen so far with the 2024 NFL schedule?
Well, honestly, it's fun to do the schedule, but we're always basing it off of the opinions of last season. Teams have changed, things have changed. Who knows what San Francisco is going to look like with all 1,000 wide receivers they have now. It'll be interesting to see what the Jets do on that first game. But I'm excited about that Dolphins matchup. That's pretty fun. Dolphins fans are upset because they wanted Buffalo to play in the hot sun, not at night, because they had to play in the snow and stuff like that when they go to Buffalo. But whatever. It's exciting. I mean, we're excited to see what matchups we're going to see. But I always feel like, we did it last year, and we'll do it again this year where we predicted the season. We tried to predict the schedule, what teams the records are going to be and whatnot. But you just really don't know. You see this matchup and you go, ooh, that sounds like fun. And then you got these international games. You're like, that sounds like fun. But you really don't know what these teams are going to be like. I think it's more exciting to figure out what rookies. We just had rookie mini camps this week. So I think it's going to be fun to see which rookies are going to start for certain teams. I heard a rumor today that the Eagles might be starting 2 rookies in their defensive backfield, which is insanity because they were terrible against the pass last year, right? And they drafted their top 2 draft picks were defensive backs. So, that stuff's kind of fun. And I think we've talked about it. NFL's a year-round sport, and here we're talking about something else. Here's another TV presentation of the NFL telling us what games are going to be on at what time. Ooh, whatever. Let's just play the games.
Yeah, I just looked up the Lions schedule. They don't come anywhere close to us this year. But they do have 9 nationally televised games this year.
Oh, you already looked. You're already jumping ahead. Like, here we go. Oh, so
I just looked it up.
I did know that the Dolphins are going to Seattle in week 3. I did see that was leaked.
The week 1, they're hosting the Rams, a playoff rematch with Matt Stafford coming back to Detroit in week 1. Sunday night football in week 1. Rams great. At Lions. Their next televised game is week 4 against the Seahawks. Detroit hosting the Seahawks at the Cowboys after the week 5 bye. It's a 4:25 kickoff at the Packers and at the Texans are the next 2 televised games. And then week 13 through 15 are all nationally televised games. Nationally televised home games starting off with Thanksgiving against the Bears, then Packers on Amazon Prime, the Bills. They get the Bills in week 15. And then the Niners, a rematch of the NFC Championship game at the 49ers on December 30th, New Year's Day game or New Year's Eve game, so to speak, over on ESPN ABC. So, yeah, it's fun to look at the Lions schedule considering that, people might argue they had an easy schedule last year, but, they play just about every team. They play every single team that they played in the playoffs in the regular season this year. So we'll get to see if they can repeat it. Were you able to look up Miami's schedule before?
Yeah, I think I have them starting. Let's go with. Let's see, 7. Let's see, 7-2, 8-2, 9-2, probably 9-2. I think we're gonna go to start the season. I feel like when just quickly looking at the schedule. We do play some tough games. We go to Green Bay, we go to Houston, and we play San Francisco at home. So that's going to be some fun games. But people were looking at our schedule thinking because they give you the home and away opponents. Like, oh, we're gonna, and I feel like obviously that Seattle game is going to be pretty difficult because that's a pretty decent team up there in Seattle. But as long as they're still starting Geno, I feel like we can win that game too. I think we start 7-0. Let's go with that. 7-0.
Real quick before
right now.
I do want to mention something real quick. Let's get to some of the comments. Sean McElveen's looking forward to Vikings versus Jets in London. He wants to try to go. Pedro thinks that Jason Kelsey signed a contract with ESPN. Jason Kelsey on Monday Night Countdown is going to be entertaining. I don't disagree whatsoever.
That guy's awesome.
And then Mama Frick in the chat. We talked about all the games. Let's talk about some of the travel times because I felt maybe we could hold it off until next week. But you can also, based on home and away schedules, you can look at how many miles that each team is going to travel. And it's a pretty unique stat to think about. The Los Angeles Chargers will be traveling more than any team in the NFL throughout their 18-game season or 17-game season, 18-week season. 26,803 miles that the Chargers will be traveling to play football this year. Your Miami Dolphins are going to be tired because they rank number 2 on this list at 25,869. If you look towards the bottom of the list, the Washington Commanders get away with only having to travel 10,550 miles. The Lions are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, ninth. They rank ninth fewest yards traveled on the list. So listen, I think that'll be an interesting stat to see next season how teams are doing if they're having to go across the country back and forth so many times on what that fatigue sort of does to them.
The Dolphins are always in the top, and the reason for that is they're the only team in their division that isn't in the Northeast. So the AFC East is Miami and Buffalo, New England, and New York, all the way up right next to each other, and then Miami's way down here. So they kind of get hosed every single season because every road trip in their division is dead north. And we're going to Seattle this year. That adds like 7,000 miles from Miami to Seattle. I've driven it. It's not fun.
Oh, yeah.
That's like 7,000.
I wonder, you think we're ever going to see division realignment in the NFL?
They need to. I think regionally would be super fun. I think that would be really fun. I think, if you did like the 3 Florida teams and like Atlanta together, that'd be really fun.
I don't know who you put Charlotte with. You probably put them with Washington and Tennessee, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it'd be interesting. It'd be fun to fantasy book to take a wrestling term. The fantasy book reshaping the NFL to make regional divisions. I think I kind of want to do it.
I think it would be easy. Yeah. Like the NFC West would stay the same for the most part. Like that's because there's just like the Western teams out there. I think you might incorporate like maybe moving the Chargers to that Western. Maybe Arizona moves.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like Arizona moves.
LA,
they
LA
play with
and
Denver.
LA.
Like they play with Denver. That kind of it'd be really fun, man. You could actually do that. I think that they're never going to because the traditionalists, which is me usually. But I wish they would. I wish they would in this case. Like I think that'd be a lot of fun. And like I just said, this travel thing because it makes zero sense that Miami's in the same division as these 3 teams that are clumped together up in the Northeast. But it would help Miami out a lot because, like you said, they'll be tired.
Well, think about this. You've got Jacksonville, Tampa, and Miami all in the state of Florida, and they're in 3 separate divisions.
Yeah.
3 separate divisions.
Because they came into the league all in different times. Yeah. Here, I had a fun statistic. You want a fun statistic, Ryan? I'll give you this one. I saw this graphic, or it wasn't even a graphic. It was actually a video. The New York Jets. There are 4 teams in the AFC East. Where do the New York Jets rank in AFC East division titles?
Dead last?
Give me a number.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Like how many divisions have
you want to say
won?
4th? You want to say 4th?
Yeah, 4th. Yeah.
Okay. They actually rank 5th.
That's hilarious.
They rank 5th.
The Jets are so bad.
They rank 5th Because the Indianapolis Colts used to be in the AFC East, and they have more division titles than the New York Jets.
God, the Jets are so bad. That's so
That's
funny.
a fun one. I just wanted to throw that out there while we're playing with the NFL, and yeah,
that's great.
All
right,
I have a friend that's a Jets fan. I have to send it to him.
JETS suck. All right,
we like to say.
Listen, what's that?
That's what we like to say is JETS.
Oh,
suck.
Yeah,
it's the thing.
Listen, again, the NFL schedule released. You can go find your favorite team schedule on the NFL.com website or wherever it is that you go to get your team's news. Shannon Smith says, can't even win a division. You were in the longest.
Yeah.
That is.
Shannon probably liked that one. He probably liked that one. I was like, oh, it's pretty good. Yeah. Use that one tomorrow at work. Guess what?
Jets are people bad. Jets fans by default, though? Like, you think the Jets fans weren't Jet fans, and then they got Brett Favre for a year, and then became Jets fans, and then, like, the Rex Ryan years where they were getting to the AFC Championship games with Mark Sanchez, and then Sanchez had the butt fumble, and so all the Jets fans decided to leave again. And now they're kind of back on board because Aaron Rodgers is there, and then he tore his Achilles, and they're like, man, we got to go back to Zach Wilson. Let's go pull for the Giants again. Oh, what, Daniel Jones? I don't know what to do. Let's go pull for Buffalo, I guess. Like, I don't know what the fans in New York do.
I honestly couldn't tell you.
Their team sucks so much. Their team suck. I mean, imagine this. The New York Mets, the New York Knicks, the New Jersey or the Brooklyn Nets now, we just talked about the New York Islanders, the New York Giants outside of their 2 Super Bowls with Eli Manning. Like for a major market to have so many teams, and
the major market.
I came this close to dropping a couple of bad words just now. Like I was on the cusp, dude. So the major market in sports.
Yeah.
And they have like all of 2 championships in the last 20 years. And Eli Manning won both of them. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, I don't. Wait a minute. When's the last time the Yankees won a World Series?
2009.
Okay, so 3 championships for the.
And I think the Mets have been in the World Series since then. They just didn't win it.
Tom Johnson says many years of practice.
What's up, Tom? He's a Mets fan.
I guess
he is a Mets fan and a Giants fan. Yeah.
The Mets want to be the Yankees so bad. The Dodgers want to be the Yankees so bad. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is.
You're gonna offend some.
There's a reason. There's a reason. Listen, and I know this is a football podcast. We have to get to UFL talk because we're running late.
Yeah.
There's a reason why the Mets finally caved and decided to go into rebuild mode last year. So we'll leave that alone. All right. UFL Week 7 came and gone, and we saw the departure of 3 teams from playoff contention. Let's first of all talk about the UFL TV ratings. They were down last week, Bill. The opening matchup, Memphis-Arlington, the 2 worst teams in the league, only drew 586,000. The thing that I was most surprised, I wasn't surprised about the fact that they had the highest rating. Did the St. Louis-Birmingham game over on Fox, 758,000. I was surprised it was so low. You had a game the week prior get over 1 million views.
Yeah.
And this week, that game only pulled in 758,000, and that was the highest of the weekend. Bill, what do you make of Week 7, seeing the ratings come down here?
It's all been kind of decided at this point. I mean, the USFL division is decided for the most. Yeah, you see, Tom. I told you we'd offend people.
Yeah. I'll read it in a second. Let's stick on this, and then I'll go back to the comments.
But no, I think it's the USFL division is over. We already know who's in that championship game. That's what they're calling it with the first round of the playoffs. The XFL division is almost completely decided. I mean, it's very close. The Brahmas look like they're in, and the Battlehawks look like they're in, and the DC's barely hanging on. So I think it's. I hate to say this. It's like, let's just get to it. We know who the good teams are now. I don't think there's really anything in doubt, and it's like let's just. I mean, we all just want to see the playoffs. Let's see if anybody can beat Birmingham. Birmingham is stinking up the show. That's what's happening. Nobody's excited anymore because Birmingham is so much better than everybody else.
All right, let's go back to some comments real quick. Shannon Smith in the chat said, screw the Mets. I'm with you. As a Braves fan, I can feel that. And then to give you some background, Tom Johnson gave me a recliner that I sit in literally every day now. It is the only thing that I sit in my house.
He gave me a massage chair.
Yeah.
And a couch. You got a couch too, yeah.
Yeah, I have a couch too. He says I want the chair back. The Yankees suck. Listen, I'm not a Yankees. I'm a Braves fan. They're in my division. So, but yeah, it's funny because it's like I said, it's literally I when I broke my rib, I slept in that recliner for 3 days. Every day I come home and my
Oh,
dogs
I
won't
was
sit
so
with me
mad.
anymore because I slept
I
in the
was so
recliner.
mad that you got the recliner. So good.
I've got a picture of Bill. We're going off the rails in the show, and I don't care.
Yeah,
We've got a picture of Bill just sprawled out in this chair, like completely out, and he's like, "God, I hate you. Why didn't I get
yeah,
this?"
I was
Like,
so mad. So mad.
I said, "Listen, dude." I said, "I'm gonna take so many naps in this chair."
Oh yeah.
Woo!
Comfy. It's
Yeah,
comfy.
yeah. The couch that you see in the background of my podcast here, that was the couch that I sat on for the better part of 6 years until I sat so hard on this couch that I broke it. That is a true story. You can't see it because it's resting
I'm
up
not
against the wall.
I'm
But if I
not sure
move
you're
it,
supposed to admit that. I don't
I don't
know.
listen. Self-deprecating humor. That's kind of my whole thing here.
Got it.
That's
Okay.
yeah. Don't worry. If you come to the Comedy Zone tomorrow, you'll see more of it. But
Oh,
it'll be
fantastic.
delivered a little better.
So we are allowed to laugh at you,
Uh,
not with you. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, you're kind of doing both at that point. You know
Oh,
what I'm saying?
either way,
Like
laughs are the
that's
same.
yeah. Just as long as I'm not
Fair.
hearing boos and I'm hearing people laughing, then I'll take it. You know.
Fair.
A
Yeah.
lot, a lot of people say that I'm funny, that I'm going to do good. So they're getting my hopes up thinking, hey, I might actually be good
No.
at this thing. And then I go there tomorrow when it's crickets. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go kill myself. Okay,
I'm going to bring the
cool.
sound effect and just play it every time you tell a joke. Even if people are laughing, there's going to be crickets behind that in my phone.
Don't you do it. No, dude, your phone, you've got the best camera of anybody that I know on your phone. You're going
so
to
I
be in
take
charge of recording
pictures?
it.
Oh, fantastic.
No, not pictures.
Okay.
You're going to
Oh,
video. You're
good.
going to be video.
Now I know what I have to do.
Tripod. Yeah, I've got the tripod. You're going to be videotaping my set.
I have a tripod.
Everybody on Instagram and everybody that I've talked to on Facebook wants to see a video. And so you're going to be in charge of recording it with the tripod on your phone. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into some UFL talk since we have like 18 minutes to do this before we end the show. We start off with the first game of the weekend, featured the Arlington Renegades, the last winless team in the UFL, taking on the Memphis Showboats, who we talked about it on the show last week. Statistically, the worst team in the UFL.
Yep.
And boy, did Arlington put it on Memphis. Arlington was out to show that they were better than their 0-6 record, and they did just that. Memphis, we saw Troy Williams, their quarterback, get hurt late in this game to bring back in Case Cookus. Both quarterbacks threw touchdowns, but they were both. One of them was late in the game. Like it was Arlington led at 30 a couple times in this game. But I mean, I don't know what else to say about the Memphis Showboats other than they're just bad. Your guy, Vinny Papali, was a guy that you were excited about for the start of the year. He had 7 catches for 55 yards and a touchdown, so he finally showed up. But if you're looking across the ticker on the bottom of the screen, defense had 0 sacks, forced no turnovers, and with this loss, they were officially eliminated from the UFL playoffs. Bill, is there anything you want to add, or do you want to go ahead and start talking about Arlington?
Memphis stinks, and we called
Terrible.
this. That's all. Yeah, that's all I want to say. Is Memphis is statistically awful, and they showed it again this week against the the worst record in the UFL. Almost said USFL, but yeah, UFL. Arlington was supposed to be the worst team, and Memphis showed how bad they really are.
Yeah, Luis Perez for Arlington, 296 yards, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. Devion Smith, 101 yards on the ground, 7 yards a carry with 2 touchdowns. Is Rawchick and Sal Canella, another 2 touchdown game. They got after the quarterback, 4 sacks, 2 interceptions in this game. They never trailed, led by as many as 30 a couple times in this game. Bill, last year they were able to mount this comeback late in the season and find their way into the UFL championship, the XFL championship. But it's not going to happen. Even with the win this week, they were eliminated for playoff contention. So this game was against 2 teams, and I believe it was the lowest ratings on the season, or at least the lowest ratings on the weekend.
2 really bad
anything out of Arlington that gives you hope? Well, do you think what you saw out of Arlington gives you hope for the future for this team?
No, who cares? They're out of the playoff next season. Yeah. I like that. Ooh, well done,
Memphis
Chad.
Rowboats.
I like that. Yeah, that's
everybody's
good.
rolling over them.
Polly
Polly is done with the Showboats because that's his team. So
I really like their uniforms. I mean, that's a neat looking team, and I think it's a cool I think it's a cool mascot. I think that's pretty unique. The Showboats, it's pretty cool. They're terrible. They're just terrible. Arlington, do I feel better about their? We talked about it last week. They're a statistical anomaly. They have one of the best offenses in the UFL, and they are not horrible on defense. They're the 5th best defense, which is bottom of the league, but still mediocre. And they hadn't won a game yet. They were just begging to win a game. They've found ways to lose, and this week they just pummeled the worst statistical team and now the worst team in the UFL.
I was trying to find some words that were opposite of Showboats because that's what they are. Like the Memphis non-competitives, I guess is what I'd probably call them. But yeah, they're terrible. Let's move on because we're running late here. Let's go. This was the game of the weekend that everybody wanted to see, and it featured what's probably going to be a rematch in the UFL championship game as St. Louis traveled to Birmingham, and Birmingham is able to squeak out the win. Yeah. St. Louis falls to 5-2. They still sit atop the XFL division, but the scores looks a lot closer than the game actually was. AJ McCarron did not have a good game. Threw an interception early in this game, and I don't think ever truly recovered with only 161 passing yards in this game. Their best running back in Jacob Saylors averaged 3.8 yards a carry. Hakeem Butler, their best playmaker, in my opinion, 7 catches, 89 yards, did not find the end zone. The defense kept him in this game. 3 sacks. They had a forced fumble in this game. And they actually had a lead late, 7 minutes, 34 seconds. They took a lead, but on the next drive, gave up a 40-yard touchdown with just under 6 to play and never really recovered to knock off Birmingham, I should say, as the last remaining unbeaten in the UFL.
Yeah.
It's crazy that St. Louis, I don't believe they have secured a spot in the playoffs yet. I think with the win, and we'll get to it when we look at the standings here in a minute.
No, because
I think with
DC
the win,
could knock them out. Yeah.
Yeah, with a win and a loss by DC this weekend, the XFL championship game is set. But Bill, what are your thoughts about St. Louis? Despite a 4-point loss to the best team in the UFL, it doesn't really give me all that much confidence to see them, at least be competitive in a potential UFL championship rematch.
It does mean. Do we remember where is the UFL championship being played?
Is it Birmingham?
I'm not even sure.
I have no idea.
I thought it was somewhere else, but I thought
Go
I heard
ahead. You
St.
talk.
Louis.
I'll look it up.
I thought it was St. Louis. Anyway, they did not get a good game out of McCarron. 161 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. It was not a good game. I think you have to feel pretty
St. Louis.
encouraged. It isn't St. Louis, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So
you got that. Yeah.
All right. So hang on. So now you only lost to Birmingham on their field by 4 points, and you had a lead in the middle of the fourth quarter. How do you feel as St. Louis, who's better than San Antonio? We already know this. We've seen Dormady is awful, and he's getting worse. So we think that it's going to be Birmingham versus St. Louis in the championship game, and that is in the Battle Dome. And come on, man, the Battle Dome rocks. This could be one heck of a championship game between Birmingham, who has to go into St. Louis and win the championship on a non-neutral field. This could be tough. So if I'm St. Louis right now, I feel pretty good.
Yeah, listen, I guess you changed my mind. I'm a little hopeful for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you look over at Birmingham, Adrian Martinez gets his 3rd start. I think finally, now that we've reached the second half of the season, we're down the final stretch here with 2 games left. I guess it's nice that Skip Holtz finally decided we're going to roll with the better quarterback in Adrian Martinez. All he did was put up another 3 touchdowns, 60 yards on the ground. And then, I'm not sure what more you can say. They had 2 sacks and an interception in this game. They did lead at halftime. The win keeps them undefeated. I'm not sure what more we can add to Birmingham outside of the fact that I think now we're just kind of seeing if they can finish an undefeated season because they didn't do it the last 2 years, winning the USFL. Do you think there's a chance that they can do that?
Yeah. I don't think anybody's beating them in their own. Probably going down the stretch. I think the only game they could lose is the championship game. I think St. Louis was the only team that can beat them, and I think they're going to play them again. And that's going to be a really good game, technically on the road. So that's going to be. That's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that one, Ryan. That's actually going to be fun if we get down to that. If not, we'll get San Antonio, which that's not going to work out well. There'll be nobody at the game.
I can't wait to talk about the San Antonio game for a couple of reasons. Let's start off, but on Sunday we had one game before San Antonio played. and that was the Michigan Panthers at DC Defenders. I think that DC was actually favored in this game, if I remember what we talked about last week, and I took Michigan to get the win on the road, and they did just that as Michigan gets a 22-9 win, but it was not easy. This wide margin of victory is not as big as it looks because their kicker, Jake Bates, kicked another 3 field goals in this game. And something else to note, they had 2 different quarterbacks playing this game that we have not mentioned their names yet. Brian Lewerke, I think I'm pronouncing his name right.
Yeah,
a quarterback out of Michigan State, started this game, went 5 of 13 for 37 yards at a rushing touchdown. But they also played Bryce Perkins, a quarterback out of Virginia, who had 11 of 13 for 116 yards. The story of this game, however, was Matthew Colburn, the running back out of Wake Forest, the pride of Irmo, South Carolina, averaged 8.6 yards per carry with 137 yards on the ground. You got to see both Samson Nakua and Kai Nakua be playmakers in this game. But yeah, I mean, between the running game, again, we've talked about it all season. If you could run the football, you have a better chance to win. And that's all that Michigan does. Michigan did to DC what DC did to everybody in the XFL last year. But with this win and losses by both, spoiler alert, losses from both of the bottom teams in the USFL division, Michigan has now secured their spot in the USFL championship game against the Birmingham Stallions. But if you ask me, Bill, watching this game and looking at the results, I have zero confidence. Even with Jake Bates kicking 5 60-yard field goals in a game, I have no confidence that Michigan is going to be able to knock out Birmingham. Would you agree?
Well, I'll never say never because, I mean, we watched Bryce Perkins play at the end of this game, and he actually played really well. So, I mean, that's pretty encouraging. You talked about Matthew Colburn. He went off. Dude had a great game on the ground. And we talk about teams that can have balance. Obviously, it's the old football adage. If you can have balance on offense, you're a better team. And we saw that this week with Michigan. Obviously, Lewerke was not good. And then Perkins came in and was much better. And he can actually run. What do you have? 1,600. I think I heard the statistic was 1,600 yards over the last 2 seasons in college. So, guy's a threat on the ground. He actually passed really well. So do they have a chance? Yes. I think yes. I think that you see a little bit of spark out of them this week once they finally got in, once Perkins finally got in the game. And are they going to get EJ Perry back? He's not out for the season. That was their original starter. So if he comes back, is there a quarterback controversy? How does he play? I mean, yeah, they have a chance. Michigan's a fairly well-rounded team. So can they beat Birmingham? Yeah, but will they? Probably not.
I still think they should go out and get that guy from Seattle last year. They got
somebody
cut by the
should.
Broncos.
Somebody should. I mean,
I can't believe he hasn't been picked up. Maybe
probably
it's
doesn't
too
want
late in
to
the
play.
season.
No, he probably doesn't want to play in the UFL. He's hoping that some other NFL team will pick him up and put him on a practice squad. Is probably what he's hoping for. But I feel like if you don't make the practice squad in Denver, or Denver's not going to hang on to you, they're probably one of the teams that has the worst quarterback situation in the NFL. So. Probably not going to happen. I would like to see him end up on a UFL team, though. That would be kind of fun and see what happens. A team that has a chance and see how that changes things going down the stretch.
Well, the DC Defenders need a miracle. They lost this game, only scored 9 points, didn't score a single touchdown in this game. Well, did they? They didn't score a touchdown. No.
No.
Jordan Ta'amu. I didn't watch all of this game, but Jordan Ta'amu injured in this game, 127 passing yards before he got hurt. Jalen McClendon, quarterback out of Baylor, came in 73 yards passing.
Actually, right. They brought in DeAndre Francois. He was their actual backup quarterback. You and I had talked about Jalen McClendon. Where was he? He was supposed to be on the roster, and we thought he was pretty good coming out of Vegas last season in the XFL. DeAndre Francois came in. He played like 3 snaps, ran the ball 1 time, and hurt his ankle. So he went out.
Yeah.
And then the first play that McClendon ran was a RPO. Or an option play where he ended up running the ball, and the announcers are like, "What are you doing calling that? What if he gets hurt?"
Yeah.
And nobody else.
Yeah.
So it's they were like, "What? You don't have him running down the middle." That's what they did. He actually played pretty well, but they just didn't have much of an offense.
They didn't. I mean, their best 2 running backs, Cameron Harris, and Darius Higgins, finished with negative rushing yards. Yeah. Listen. Oh, they did score a touchdown. I stand corrected. They did score a touchdown in the second quarter. They kicked the field goal in the fourth. But listen, 3-4 on the season. This weekend turns into a must-win for the DC Defenders if they want a shot back in the UFL playoffs, back in the XFL championship game. But let's go to the final game of the weekend. This game, I don't know what else to say. The Houston Roughnecks find another way to lose. 15-12. The San Antonio Brahmas get the win. You talked about Quentin Dormady being terrible. He was bad once again, and he was benched in the fourth quarter for Kevin Hogan, a quarterback out of Stanford, who all he did on the final drive of his game, 5 of 37, that set up the game-winning field goal. It was set up the game-winning touchdown, right? It was a rushing touchdown from John Levitt late in this game. But listen, 5-2 San Antonio, similar situation. San Antonio wins this weekend. They've all but secured their spot in the XFL championship game. But Bill, we've already talked about it with Michigan. We've talked about it with DC. I don't have faith in San Antonio being able to knock off St. Louis.
It was actually a Lovett touchdown that tied the game, and then a last-second field goal to win the game, but all thanks to Kevin Hogan and actually playing decent football. And then in his post-game interview, he gave thanks immediately to Jesus, which usually they say Lord or God or something, but he straight up Jesus. I liked it. But so that was pretty cool. And you said, I think you texted me right away and said, different quarterback in San Antonio. I was like, it's Kevin Hogan, man. Like I recognized the guy when he came on the field. I was like, holy crap, this guy's old. I think he's like 32 or something like that. He's a pretty old guy. Yeah. So he just wants to play football. So that's pretty cool. And didn't play poorly. So that's actually kind of exciting, right? I mean, does that give San Antonio, Dormady obviously benched. So junk, right? So now it's Hogan. So are we going to see?
We talked about them going and trying to get the guy from Seattle last week. If there's a team that needed a quarterback, it was San Antonio.
Yeah. I mean, but
was Kevin Hogan not the quarterback that replaced Andrew Luck in Stanford, by the way?
I think that sounds about right.
Yeah.
I want to go with that. I think that sounds about right. Yeah. So Hogan comes in late in this game. Dormady went 10 for 24. He was horrifically bad. Like, I'm pretty sure if I played no, I'm kidding. I'm not going to go that far. Well, either one of us, Ryan. I think we could complete 10 passes in the UFL. He was horrible.
It'd be a lot of dump offs.
It'd be a lot, but that's all he does. That's actually all he does. Honestly, he was 10 for 24. He completed 10. Actually, they were 14 yards per completion this week. But Hogan was much better, obviously, coming in. And so I think that makes them a different team now that he's going to be playing. I think he's a veteran quarterback. He has some experience. He played, I think he actually was in the NFL like as a backup for a few years. So I don't know. Does that change things a little bit? Does that put pressure on St. Louis? Obviously, we're thinking San Antonio and St. Louis are going to be the teams that are going to play for the XFL title game, right, in the playoffs. So I've been saying Vamos Brahmas all year, and now I feel a little bit better about it. I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good. Can they beat St. Louis? We'll find out. It would be a horrible thing for that to happen, though, because the championship game is in St. Louis.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen because
I don't
the team
either.
they beat, the Houston Roughnecks, were one of the worst teams in the UFL. They fall to 1-6. Jarrett Garantano started the game 121 yards passing. Reed Sinet came in. I don't know if it was injury or whatnot. Your guy Mark Thompson was probably the best player on offense, getting 4.2 yards a carry. Listen, not a lot to talk about. They got 2 sacks on defense, got an interception, but they didn't. We talked about a team that didn't score a touchdown. Houston was the team that didn't score a touchdown this week. And with the loss, they too are eliminated from the UFL playoffs. They are eliminated from the USFL championship game. And if you've been keeping track, that means that we're looking at basically a three-headed monster in the XFL division. If we see both St. Louis and San Antonio get wins this week, I think St. Louis actually plays DC. So if DC loses to St. Louis, the XFL championship game will be set prior to the final week of the season. But we already mentioned the USFL championship game is set. 7-0 Michigan Panthers, currently 5-2 Michigan Panthers. Like you said, I think the ratings might be down because everybody kind of expects what they're going to see. But we're here. We've got 2 more weeks left in the UFL season before we get the playoffs and a 2-week playoff game. I'm excited for this UFL championship game, whatever it winds up being, because Arlington was the Cinderella last year and they were able to do it. Bill, we're running late, so let's go ahead and get to it. I should mention there are no betting odds available, be either DraftKings or the other one. I can't think of the other one was called. When I went to go find some betting odds, the only betting odds you can find are teams to win the UFL championship game. So these are going to be all pick'ems this week. The first game on Saturday features the Memphis Showboats at the Michigan Panthers. Neither team has anything to gain from winning or losing. Saturday, 4:00 kickoff. I don't think there's going to be a lot of people tuning in. Bill, what say you? Memphis at Michigan. Do you think Michigan takes this win?
Oh, it's a blowout. I don't care what the spread could be 20. They're going to destroy Memphis.
Yep. Shannon coming in clutch. It is FanDuel, and I couldn't find betting odds on FanDuel either. So I'm with you. Michigan rolls. There's no way Memphis even puts up a struggle in this game unless Michigan just decides to roll out some quarterback that's never played before, and they're already resting guys with 2 weeks left to go in the season.
Kind of what they do every week, though, Ryan. I was kidding.
That's the only way that I see Memphis having a shot.
I don't even think that would matter. They would just run the ball. Colburn and Payne, was it West Hills? Those two guys will just run the ball down the throat of Memphis. Memphis doesn't have a prayer stopping that team. Memphis is that bad. So this one's not going to be that much fun.
Well, the 8:00 kickoff game features the Houston Roughnecks at the Birmingham Stallions. Again, team eliminated from the playoff. The team that's going to get the number 1 seed in the USFL championship game. Saturday, 8:00 kickoff. This is on ESPN2. I'm pretty confident the ratings are going to be way down for this game. Bill, is there any way that Houston shocks the world like Orlando did, knocking off the undefeated DC Defenders last season? Can Houston shock the world and get a win at Birmingham?
No.
I agree. Let's go ahead and move on here.
Spread of 30.
Sunday.
Spread of 30.
Sunday, this is the game of the weekend because the DC Defenders are in a must-win game against the St. Louis Battlehawks on the road. This is a 12:00 kickoff on ABC Sunday afternoon. Bill, can DC stay alive and get the win in St. Louis?
No. Spread of 14.
Yeah, we're all over this. I'm with you, right? There's no way DC gets the win. I don't care if they play. I don't care if Ta'amu's healthy enough to play. I don't care if they play McClendon. I don't care if they play Francois. There's no way they win this game, which will set up St. Louis against San Antonio for the XFL championship game. Speaking of San Antonio, they play host to the Arlington Renegades. Arlington put up 47 points last week. They proved that they were able to put up some points, and San Antonio didn't look all that great. Can Arlington shock San Antonio and potentially keep DC's hope alive and get an upset win on the road at San Antonio? It's a 4:00 game, kickoff over on Fox.
Yes. I think, yes, Arlington can win this game. But they won't. But they won't.
I think I'm going to go on a ledge. Listen, I need to go. I said this last week. I need to go through and look at all of our picks because I'm going to go on a ledge.
It's awful.
And I'm gonna take Arlington in this game. Give me Arlington. Screw it. Who cares?
All right. Yeah. Who cares? Who cares? This is the most fun game I think of. I think the DC St. Louis game is going to be fun. Not competitive, but fun because it's St. Louis. But this game is probably going to be the most competitive game of all of them, only because Arlington can score, and I'm not sure. We'll see how Kevin Hogan does. Let's root for Kevin Hogan to actually be a pretty good quarterback.
Well, then, we have reached the end of the show in the overtime segment. Bill, is there anything you want to leave the audience with before we sign off for the evening?
No, I'm good.
I'll leave everybody with something. Listen,
Listen.
Listen. I feel like Max Caster. I feel like one of the acclaimed. Okay. My mom is giving me a shout out on the show, which is what I'm about to get to. So if you live in the Greenville, South Carolina area, or you know somebody that does, the Greenville Comedy Zone does open mics every Thursday night from 8 to 10. Doors open at 7. This is a free plug for them. I'm not getting paid to promote this. I'm not getting paid to do this. But every Thursday they have a stand-up, a comedy open mic. Comics get 3 to 5 minutes to kind of do some of their material. And for the first time ever, I am going to give forth an effort at stand-up comedy. I've been writing for about 2 months. I think I'm only going to get about 3 minutes, but that's probably the hardest part about it. But if you're in the Greenville area and you've got nothing else to do tomorrow night, it's $13 to get in the door. There's a bunch of aspiring comedians that are trying out their work. There's a couple other places in the upstate that do open mics. Coffee Underground does it on Mondays in Greenville. There's a spot in Spartanburg that I'll plug next week. I just found out there's a place in Piedmont that does Wednesday nights. So we might have to like pre-record the show 1 week so I can go to hit up an open mic on a Wednesday. But if you want to come support local comedians, if you want to come just support me and laugh at and with me, as we talked about earlier on the show, feel free to come out. They have great drinks. They've got my favorite drink, Jack Honey, at the Comedy Zone. They've got some nice little appetizer foods. And from my experience that I had last week, going to their open mic just for the experience, a lot of comedians who are very supportive of each other, who just want to see everybody get better. Back, I guess, in the 80s, 90s, maybe even the 70s, stand-up comedy was a very competitive field. Kind of like, what acting is today, because everybody wants their spot and they want to keep that spot. But it seems like it's the exact opposite. Now, comedians want everybody, if you're funny, they want to find a way to make you feel funnier, make you come off as funnier. And so it was a really fun experience to see last week. Appreciate the words, both Mama Frick and Shannon. So yeah, if you want to come out to the Greenville Comedy Zone tomorrow night and support your local comedians, I will be there doing my first ever open mic in a stand-up comedy club. But as far as the show goes, that's all we've got. Make sure, first of all, thanks to everybody who's watching the show, whether it was Facebook, YouTube. Well, it wasn't on YouTube tonight. Facebook, that's how used to I am it. Facebook.com/tapouts and touchdowns, whether they're watching over on X at Tapouts and TDs. We actually had a lot of viewers on X tonight. And then whoever, I saw a couple of people pop in and out on Instagram at Ryan W. Frick. If you're not already doing so, go follow my Instagram, because I've been posting some great reels that have been shared to our Facebook page, but they're going to Instagram first. So go follow me on Instagram at Ryan W. Frick. After this show is over, I'm going to post the video to our YouTube channel at Tapouts and Touchdowns. I think we're going to go back to being live on YouTube next week. We'll see how I feel after tomorrow night. But I digress. This has been a phenomenal show. There's a lot of football to get in. We only went a few minutes late. Thanks to everybody who was in the chat, everybody who watched on either of the platforms that we were on. And Bill, I don't know really how else to sign off from that. I mean, it was a fun show. Thank you, as always, for being a part of this show and throwing me some last minute information to get us ready for this show right before we came on the air. And thanks to everybody who listened. So with that being said, for Banker Bill, it's your guy, Bully Rye, and we will see you next time right here on Tapouts and Touchdowns.